Because Mom, and especially after Mom and Dad just, grew more and more apart, more and more was lived through me, especially by my mother. And I had the responsibility of my mother, really. And I just felt, because it was heavy on me, that when I had children, that I was going to have my life always full, so that I was never hanging like an albatross around. And I don't mean Mom was, but I had to create things for her to do. And I promised myself that I was going to have my life full, and have interests. And if I'm not working in whatever my profession was, which obviously it was in the movie industry, but I would then be working for charity, or I would always have my mind occupied and have interests, so that I would be of interest to them, as well as interest to myself, so that I didn't put they were not my only raison d'etre, my reason to be. Not that I wouldn't have loved to have that, except that then put something on them that I didn't want to put on them. They are obviously my reason for being, because they're my beautiful children. But I had to be a person, because I think that, well, like I said, the night I was tributed at the Players Club, I said, being their mother, they didn't have a choice. That just happened. That's out of our hands. But for them to then say I'm their friend, or consider me and treat me as a friend, that means the world, because that you have to earn.
Well, that's great. And you know that because both of them became actresses, it had to be really tempting for you to kind of, right? I mean, obviously you could have given them a lot more advice than you did, right? You could have been totally blitzing into Jamie's career, which you never did. Because she said that, that even when you worked together on The Fog, she felt like she came in there separately to work, you came in there separately to work.
I never wanted to interfere. If I was asked, I was happy to give any help I could. The only time I interfered in the slightest with Jamie was she wanted to start at 16. And I asked her to wait until she was 18 and out of high school, just so that she'd never have that time again. You grow up very quickly in this business. And I wanted her to be a kid, as long as she could. It had nothing to do with this business, because I didn't dissuade her or persuade her, because I don't think that's a parent's place.
But she just wanted to jump in, right? I mean,
she, Jamie, she wanted to just go hog wild and plunge right in. And all I did was ask, wait until you're out of high school. And that was fine. They're both their own people, and I think that I had seen, working in films for as long as I had, I just saw too many mothers who interfered, and I don't think in a good way, with their children. Whether they pushed them, whether they allowed too much, too much lax, they were lax in their discipline because, their child was a star, and so they could do anything, like allowing to wear low-cut dresses or blouses when you're 13 or 14. You know what I'm saying? That I just saw too much of that, and the pressure on the young people I mean, I was 18, and that's young, but still, I was an adult. But when you're 10 and 11 and 12 and 14 even and 16, you're very young, I think, and I think they were robbed of a good time in their life, and so I did ask that, and I'm glad that she didn't, object to it. That she saw my reasoning and didn't feel I was denying her anything.
Do you think she could have survived in the studio system that you flourished in, Jamie, with her? She seems very independent and, not going to put up with this and not going to put up with that, where reading about your approach to it, you were so willing to fall into the program. You were so trusting of the program.
I think that Jamie's independence comes from her generation. I don't think that's, I think she has to be to survive. I think she would have flourished in the studio system. She would have had all the things that she had to fight for would have been there for her to take advantage of, and she would be smart enough to take advantage of it. So I think absolutely she would have gone probably faster because she would have had all the tools, readily available. And I feel...
And she would have had pictures constantly released behind her.
I feel confident she would have, taken advantage of those tools and learned them well, and then still had that, because she's strong, so she would have used those and even, done it faster probably than she had to do it independently. But I think today's generation, they're forced to be that independent. They're forced to be that strong because it isn't done for them as it was for me.